certainly from my position these days, what excites me is the way forward. And I think the time is ripe for this. I've attended a few different conferences, and more out of these, you know, a lot of the discussion at these conferences is more around what I would describe as a changing value system. More and more, in particular, the younger demographics are choosing place over what I would describe as setting, and certainly are willing to make decisions based on the quality of life they perceive they would have, more than just strictly on employment. And so certainly, as I say, in this office, that's something that gets me quite excited. And quite frankly, I'd like to tap into a number of those students that Kim gets to shape and be involved with for 4 years, and have them be excited by our community while they're here, and you know, and maybe settle roots here.
Right, and that they would stay and make their investments.
Yeah, that's right.
Make a home here.
And help define our character going forward, or our story going forward.
Sure, wonderful. Yeah. And as we're talking about place, and we're talking about Mariposa as being a defining image of the spirit of our place, I think every community has its own Mariposa, is my impression. I think the image will be different for each community, but I think each, in one way or another, can tap into this kind of sense that there's some kind of overarching image or narrative that speaks deeply about what the nature and essential identity of that community is.
Mm-hmm.
And Daphne and I, for example, went and offered an experience of place and placemaking to another community north of where we are here in Aurelia, and found the language that came up for them around their sense of place was quite unique and distinctive from the language we've used here in talking about our place. Daphne, could you highlight a little bit of that from what you noticed in your report?
Well, what was interesting is we are talking about the sense of place, and after we had the day in the other community north of Aurelia, what came out of that were some keywords. So Michael and I have put together a framework for these experiencing days, where we can actually look at the keywords if we take notes throughout the day, and then put them into a framework. And we've had 3-day in Mariposa experiences. And we're really seeing some interesting language that really clearly defines that community's stories and their sense of place. So what we found with this newest experience was really a different set of words and languages, but fundamentally coming from the same, you know, elemental place in thinking of a community and its stories. Interestingly enough, the community that we had met with saw themselves in quite a different way and really hadn't clearly understood their stories. And as they spent the day working through it, the language came out. And so, interestingly enough, we realized we were also creating not just a sense of place, but a language of place. And the language is defined by the stories of each community.
Yeah, I think that's one of the real benefits in having conversations about place and around the story of place, is it gives us a language with which to speak about the aspirations we have for our community and what we want it to become, and how the history of the community in some ways also carries within it perhaps the seed or the potential for what it can become. But it's hard to create a future without a language to describe it.
Michael, I think you're bang on. We need to you know, we need to certainly know our history and the language in which we could describe our story going forward. One of the challenges I see is taking, you know, for example, what Daphne and Michael would learn on you know, doing an event like that, and taking what people see as their story and putting it, you know, adding tangible measures to enhance that story and create that excitement and in the end, that sense of belonging. And that's and as I say, from where I sit, that's the challenge that I see. How do we, you know, what concrete or more tangible measures we put in place to repeat that story and enhance it, whether that's culture, primarily from a cultural standpoint, or protecting, enhancing our natural environment, telling the historical stories, providing the services that will allow people the time and the quality of life to enjoy and enhance that story. And I mean, sometimes it even comes down to employment. If they can't have a sustainable existence in a community and as I say, enjoy and be a part of that story, then unfortunately we're in danger of losing them.